Hi there, Crafty Pals, Louise with you today. Welcome along to my first video share for the month of May. Fabulously masculine kit this month, and I think you're really going to love having a play with some of these elements. The papers are super different to what I am normally playing with, and I love that it's teamed with some Cocoa Vanilla Studio pops of colour. So this is quite a challenge to me initially because I am not overwhelmed, but spoilt for choice, let's say. And so I decide that I'm going to start with a pre-made background from my stash. Now, of course, you could make your own background to replicate this. I wouldn't think it would be very hard. It's just a little bit of stencil work and some watercolour. But for me, because I am sometimes a bit time poor and I don't like to make my own mess, I find these pre-made backgrounds can be really interesting to use. They challenge your creativity a little bit, and that's why I decided to go with that type of background for my first page this month. Now you can also see that I've started with a few of the little embellishments. I've got 2 photos, and I decided to use some of the papers to enhance what I am working with. So this particular grey background is really great in that it's quite neutral. So as you can see, I've teamed it with that sort of brightish green, orange and yellow with the title, a couple of pops of colour, and I'm going to now mount it onto some background paper in order just to help that white have a little bit of a border. It really makes it a more of a finished page, in my opinion. So cutting out the inner part, because I definitely don't want to waste this paper, I'm going to trim the edges, and you can see I've cut back some of that white of the oh, pardon me. You can see I've cut back some of that white from around the initial background paper as well. So this, I think, gives you a little chance to pop some colour, use up some elements from the kit, but it's, in my case, not sort of overwhelming me in terms of how I'm creating. So I do think this is probably one of the favourite techniques that I tend to lean towards when I am struggling a little bit, is just to keep it quite simple and go back to basics. My mojo has been missing a little bit lately, so hopefully I can get it back creating with this May kit and really have some fun with it. Now, because I trimmed my photos down to a smaller size, I do like to have them with a white border, and sometimes I will double mount them and actually have them with a pattern paper border at the back there as well, but it just depends on how I'm feeling and what elements I'm using from the kit. So off camera, I've gone ahead and, once I'm happy with my embellishments, stuck those down, and it's at this stage where I want to bring some of those other colours in. I like this background, but I think it could do with just a little bit more colour, sort of adding a bit of dimension, because I am going to cover up a fair bit of that background with my embellishments. So I just decided that with my watercolour palette, I was just going to go and add a few little extra splatters, freshen up this background a tiny bit, make it unique, make it my own, bring in some of those colours that I was using from the ephemera. And you'll also note that I've mounted my photo up on, and my embellishments up on some card. So that's just ordinary old card. I'm so sorry, I have a tickle in my throat at the moment. That's just an ordinary old cardboard. So the boxes that I use are actually the kit boxes that the kit comes in each month, and I just cut those up. I've got a fair old stash of them, so I just turn them into backing for my elements on my layout. Okay, popping that aside to let it dry, let's have a look at where we are, putting this together, having all those elements now that it is dry. I do think that the cluster that I've got working there probably does need just a little bit of something to bring it to the foreground. So I like this white paper mounted on the patterned cardstock, and I like the cluster, but I just don't know. It seems to be getting a little bit lost. So that mountain and those trees it's sort of fading into the background and it's not really in the forefront. And so I decide to tear some paper, which for me is a very easy way to add a sort of a grungy kind of feel. So I don't like my paper to be fairly straight. I like it to be a bit mixed around and lots of torn edges, no straight lines. That's just how I like to create. So definitely feeling a lot stronger about this layout once I get these elements with the torn paper in the background. I think it really just draws your eye to the photo and the cluster element without sort of being overwhelming of the background. So a couple of little torn paper elements, and because I didn't tear them large enough, I had to, of course, cut them. But that doesn't necessarily matter because it's only a little piece of pattern paper that's poking out from behind the cluster. So some of this is, as you can see, going to get cut up. So it's really covered up. It's really just about popping in the elements that you prefer when you're creating. Okay, so the last parts of this particular page are just getting everything stuck down. I'm having a little trouble with my adhesive at the moment, and you will notice that I've started to almost double stick some stuff. I will often, if I'm using paper, use a double-sided tape, but then sometimes if I'm going over mixed media, I will use a tacky glue element as well. I have pulled out a couple of albums lately that have lost their stick, so the double-sided adhesive seems to have loosened. Now that could be just the climate that I live in, where my albums are positioned, things like that. So yeah, definitely encourage you to check your albums, and if you're noting that your adhesive isn't holding, then double up on your glues. Okay, that is my share for May. I hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you are a subscriber of Kitaholic Kits, and you can follow them on Facebook and check out their website. So thank you so much for watching.